Hey everybody, welcome to your October 2024 forecast video scope. I'm Jean. I've been a soul coach for 20 years. Most of my work is one-on-one with clients and coaching folks. That's the bulk of my work. And I'm also adding a kind of a medium psychic session over on my Patreon the first Thursday of each month. I wanted to make it affordable because I feel like we learn well by doing and seeing and witnessing and engaging. So if that's of interest to you, you can connect with that link above or below. So we're moving right into this new moon annular solar eclipse in Libra. It's not going to be a super bright eclipse. It's darker, it's softer. It moves through Chile and Argentina are going to be the only countries that will be witnessing the full eclipse. The rest will be partial eclipses in the southern North American continent, partial over Antarctica, South America, northern South America, Pacific, and the Atlantic. And this eclipse perfects at 2:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And this is quite an interesting eclipse. We have a gathering down in the early part of Capricorn. And this is a Pholus Ceres conjunction, which I'm going to give a tip to Eric Francis here for calling it the family Hunger Games, and tying Pholus into alcohol and Ceres into the family nurturing function. And in a country, the United States, where, we have the highest prescription medical intake of any other developed country, a lowering mortality rate, and, some other, what I will call the suppression of emotional health and emotional intelligence. And why I'm tying this in with the alcohol and alcoholism, which is just so common in our society. And I would say probably every other client I work with has an addict, an alcoholic in their family. And what that does to the child growing up in that family is you're not being mirrored healthy emotional impressions. Rather, with an addict in the house, emotions are suppressed and numbed. And why that gives rise to such a feeling of low self-worth and self-esteem issues to the children growing up. The alcoholic probably grew up with his own alcoholic parent. And so this is so ubiquitous. I have found through the many years I've been doing this. And it's problematic because if we're here, and we are here, during this time of increasing energy and this galactic energy to become more soul embodied, that means dropping into the body and into the feeling and the sensate energy. It's very different than what the controllers, or I'll call them programmers on planet, have trained us to do, which is to always come at things through the left brain, prefrontal cortex, and that is just a part of the story of the amazing communication skills that we have available to us. And when you see so many Americans, when I'm in the park, half the people in the park, have their face in their phone. So it's continuing to lend to a disembodied, out-of-body experience. And when you're learning to open to more of your light and to earth and to your connection to earth and all that we are and her to us, it is opening to the emotional and the felt sense. That's the difference between when you're trying to analyze something versus when you feel it. For example, when you know something is right, when it's not right. When you know something is true, when it's not true. It's a powerful energy source that lives within all of us that is here for our embodiment. And so dropping into the body, being in the body. But if you have a habit or a history of not doing that, of disembodiment because of the family structures, because of the social media, the social engineering that we're seeing so strongly around us, which is encouraging us to not be in our body, but to be in the head. And why there are so many health issues, because unprocessed, unintegrated emotions and being in the body is always driver of whatever health or symptom or condition is. And being in the head is about, you've got to watch for the next thing or the next problem, or that's the mind programming that has been used for so long now. Look at us, look at us, look at us, watch us, pay attention over here, not to yourself, to us. And so we see the strong contrast of this as we're moving increasingly into this time of what we can call awakening. But the awakening is not awakening out there per se. It's the awakening in here. It's the awakening to who we really are as a soul-embodied divine spark being, encasing that in a physical body form, which is very special. A lot of other places and energies and entities don't have that experience of soul embodied in physicality. So it really is a gift if we can shift some of the perception around that. And this eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra is going to be squaring that Pholus Ceres energy. And we're also seeing, Pluto. I've certainly felt it when he slipped back into Capricorn. It is the push for us to finish business in that area. Whether it's, a government situation you need to deal with, or a work situation, or family situation. This is the big push over the next 6 weeks, and then it's done, for us to handle it, get clear, button things up, dust things off, and conclude a chapter. And we're also seeing this eclipse squaring Mars up in Cancer, which again is about family. And Mars in Cancer can often, it's like a Mars conjunct the moon. It's predicated upon emotional decisions, which can ebb and flow and ebb and flow. And what you decide yesterday can change the next day. So it's helpful to be a little bit slower with the decision-making process as well. And noticing when you may be in a reactive pattern or being triggered by family or the old themes here, tied to Capricorn, tied to family, tied to that Ceres-Pholus conjunction. And Ceres is about mothering and the original nurturing function. So we've got a very interesting setup here. The solar eclipses also, of course, opposing that North Node in Aries, which means it's conjunct the South Node in Libra. So this eclipse carries a strong message of releasing and letting go. There is a releasing of old ways, often learned, again, through the family, our original relationship, cultivation, and developmental environment. And so hold some space for that, right? Hold some space for that. When you're soul embodied, you can kind of sit back in a little bit more of a detached fashion and watch yourself responding and feeling and your thoughts. And we're not really our thoughts and our emotions, but we're here to use these more as engaging tools that are working for us and for our benefit, rather than something to suppress, to numb, to medicate. And because that is where our dimensional sense of ourselves and, this awakening and expansion, expanding into more awareness, that is absolutely what it's tied to. So the eclipse opposing that North Node in Aries, of course, and, Libra is interesting because often Libra rising, Libra sun, they're really here to learn a lot about relationship. And it may not be perfect relationship, but the balance. And that may be not overgiving anymore. That may be learning more healthy assertion. It may be not being triggered and reacting really fast, but modulating that a bit with intelligence and letting your body process and let the chemicals flow, and then taking some action upon some things, right? So very powerful eclipse here that's going to be playing out over the next 6 months. Now, I'm in the East Coast, I'm in Virginia, so when I pulled the chart, it has Capricorn rising on the East Coast, 17 degrees, and it is squaring that, or opposing Mars over there in Cancer in the 6th house of health and well-being. And the eclipse is actually up there in that 9th house of the higher mind and consciousness. And the North Node is in Aries in the eclipse chart in the 3rd house. And when we see that kind of setup with the nodes, the North Node is about gathering details and information in a proactive way in order to feed that higher consciousness. And Aries is a very kind of embodied fire sign as well. So that kind of just replicates. And we're also seeing Chiron conjunct Eris. Chiron's at 21 degrees of Aries, conjunct Eris at 25 degrees, which can also be about the chaos of the cyber experience, social media experience, and how people present themselves and how people interact with this information, and how that disembodies the human even further. So, and Venus is up there. The midheaven is Scorpio at 9 degrees, and Venus conjuncts that at 11 degrees Scorpio. So this is talking about, the outer way, tying in with that feminine, because Venus rules Libra. So I always want to look at the ruler of the eclipse and that expression in Scorpio, which is certainly about, the embodiment, going deeper, the transformational, the alchemical energy. And then she moves into a very nice trine with Saturn on the 4th of October. As we head into the 9th of October, Jupiter's stationing retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. He'll be retrograde until, I think, February of next year. And Gemini has also really expanded that mental energy as well, but also curiosity and learning and communication. So this will be more of a internal process. What do I think? What are the facts? Where is my learning? Where is my personal growth? What are the narratives? And I've spoken about this ad nauseum, I know. But those themes that run round and round in our head, you may get a stronger grip on that as Jupiter retrogrades. But this can certainly speak to some big information, announcements, regarding transportation themes, schools, travel. And then on the 11th, we're seeing Pluto stationing direct at 29 degrees of Capricorn. He's going to leave Capricorn November 19th. So we've got one more month from this point on, and we're seeing this playing out with the control grids, with the governments, with the structures, very, very strongly in view right now. But we're also seeing beautiful Jupiter sextile Chiron. As Jupiter is retrograding, he's holding a sextile to Chiron. Chiron is the process of healing. Chiron is embodiment, the metaphysician, compassion, wisdom gained and accrued through experience. And so that's from Gemini to Aries. That perfects on the 12th, although the orb is already in play as I'm recording this from September 25th until November 18th. So there's an opportunity here around the mind and personal action and sense of self and sovereignty. Sextiles are opportunities. They're not like conjunctions or squares that push you or apply tension. It's more of a pay attention to this and tune into it. Tune into this frequency. Tune into this flow here. Healing words can be a part of this. On the 13th, Mercury joins Venus in Scorpio. And remember, he finally left his Virgonian home where he had been transiting since the end of July. He just left at the end of September and headed into Libra. And so really warming up this Libran energy and personalization and meaning of this Libran eclipse, wherever it is in your chart. Now he joins Venus and heads into Scorpio until November 2nd. So in Scorpio, we always want to go deep. We want to understand more. We want to get to the bottom of things. It's like a truth-seeking missile, Mercury in Scorpio. It's the investigator, uncovering, and he's squaring Pluto as he moves into Scorpio, just as Venus did before him. The 13th and 14th, just to be aware of, we've got some raggedy energy moving through here. Mars is squaring Chiron up there from Cancer, the emotions and the family, to Chiron and Aries. The Sun is opposing Chiron, 21 Libra, so we've got a nice little T-square operating here from 21 Libra to Aries. So Chiron energy, this can be an opportunity to really make some good, intelligent, kind, wise decisions. There may be some health themes at play here. I can't go there on YouTube. I'll get in trouble, but but then the Sun is trining Jupiter, so the higher wisdom, paying attention to information and data. And the Sun is squaring Mars as he's opposing. So we've got all of this T-square energy between Libra, Cancer, and Aries, all in the cardinal signs. It empties out into Capricorn. Groundedness, structure, taking things a step at a time. And we're heading into the full moon in Aries, and this is absolutely an answer to the new moon solar eclipse that occurred back in April, within seconds of a conjunction to Chiron. So this has been a theme for all of us collectively. The wounds, where are your wounds? The healing, wounding behavior, other people's wounding behavior, triggering, not being in the emotional body. Maybe you've been dealing with people like that. Maybe you're noticing those patterns within yourself. Both can be occurring concurrently. Now this full moon in Aries conjuncts Chiron. So this is tied in right with the April piece. This will be illuminating. It may be bringing up some of these things. It can be a finishing up, a culminating, a letting go. It can be quite sensitive. It can be quite vulnerable. And when things are sensitive and vulnerable, we always want to hold and contain great compassion for the journey and the passage that you're moving through. So that's a 24 degrees of Aries on the 17th. It's squaring Pluto. So government, Aries is war and ammunition and guns and violence. Pluto is Chiron. Pluto is governments and corporations. And this full moon is also sextiling Jupiter in Gemini. But certainly we are going to see some culminations tied to these themes, both on the global stage, and especially if you have any of those 20 to 29 degrees activated in your own cardinal signs in your chart. This will be quite strong for you. And to hold space for that, to acknowledge, to open, to be that vulnerable container for yourself, perhaps for another. And you may be really concluding a chapter here that's been very strong over the past 6 months. And it, again, could be tied to family, tied to governmental systems, structures, etc., but also finishing up some of these pieces. And then Venus slips into Sagittarius, also at this full moon until, I believe, November 9th, and she's sextiling Pluto. So there's going to be a little bit of a lightening here, a lightening up from the heavier Scorpio energy. Pluto's very tied in with these eclipses and the energy this month. She can help bring some perspective, wanderlust, playfulness, the adventure and enjoyment. And then on the 22nd, we're seeing the sun head into Scorpio for the next 4 weeks. So we're in Scorpio season here with Mercury there, and finances and money and resources. And on the 28th, we're seeing a very nice Mars trine Neptune from 27 degrees of Cancer to Pisces. Neptune, has backed up to about 27 degrees of Pisces from its anaretic degree. But if you've noticed, while Neptune has been retrograde in Pisces, I said a couple years ago, there's going to be so much unveiling of the celebrities, the entertainment industry, and wow, has there ever been? And, that's revelatory. It's the tip of the iceberg, especially for speaking about this Diddy situation, where you're just seeing a little bit of a glimpse into what the higher power structures are, run by very, very few people on this planet. And, I'm waiting. I'm not ready to really share all of this. I don't think we're collectively quite there yet. But this has been a big piece of work and channeling that's come in about sexual issues on this planet, child trafficking. It is so much more widespread. And we're starting to see a little bit more of that. There's someone that was talking about cruelty-free artistry. And why would power structures want to traumatize, abuse musicians, entertainers getting into the industry? Is because they want to control that artist. And if you put them in compromising situations and you videotape it, much like is done with other officials on this planet, then you control them. And they need to agree with the narrative. They need to, bring their craft forward in a certain way, even in certain frequencies that are not harmony-based, to present themselves in some of these more unpleasant ways. We've seen quite a focus on, what looks like demon-like, Satan-like kind of expressions. And this is part and parcel of this control grid, and how this then creates an avenue to success and fame on their terms, not on the artist's terms. Some willingly move into this space because they're just so hungry for fame and fortune, as I'm seeing, with some other people around here. In the spiritual community, the spiritual community is Pisces too. If you're in it for fame and fortune, this may be the wrong industry for you, because being of service and having a healthy ego and cultivating humbleness. I have been so humbled by the access and the connections I have and the work that I do. And it makes me more and more humble and in awe of the wisdom that's in play out there. And a lot of you are here to be in service of that in that manner. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers game and the views and how many people are subscribed. Just be mindful of that. And speaking from a creator who's been on YouTube for 15 years now, when they started shadow banning me in 2020, I've had over 4,000 unsubscribes. And it serves a purpose if they don't like what you're saying. And I was talking about some things back in 2020, 2021, that the powers that be or that were did not like what I was talking about. It has a way of demoralizing the content creator unless they understand what's occurring. And then for those who are hyper-focused on followers and likes, then they can go and say, oh, she doesn't have that big a following, or not many people are following her. And, I've also had people say, oh, glad to see you back again. Well, I haven't gone anywhere. So there's a lot of games being played out there. And, just be mindful of not falling into that trap, though. It's been a strengthening time for me to fall into a deficit of subscribers for the first time in 15 years. It's made me strong and a little bit more humble. And of course, I've had to be more careful, like so many others on various platforms. But that is just another game that is played to create an effect for those who, function at that level. I will tell you, some of the people I find the most authentic and the people that I can look at and I'm like, they're walking the path. They're not just talking it. May not have those huge networks because the collective isn't quite there yet in their own evolution or consciousness. So what I'm saying to you is what you bring to your work and your service matters. That's fifth dimensional approaches, ethics, authenticity, not lying about years of experience, not lying about skill sets, trusting the value and where you're at, because wherever you are at in your development as a server, being of service, you're going to attract like-minded others, you see, and that's how the quantum field works. That's just the way it is. I attract my clients that are a vibrational match for the energy, the frequency that I'm bringing to the fore. And how can it be any other way? But when you're trying to be something or present something that you're not, or you've seen someone else talk about something that you may not quite have an understanding about yet, trust yourself and trust where you are and work from what you know. Work from what you know. That's fifth dimensional. The other stuff is third dimensional, chasing likes, chasing numbers. Because I'll tell you, what I see is some of the folks with the big numbers who are doing well. They didn't start because of the numbers. They started because of a heartfelt connection, almost driving them, a need to do this. It was with very little thought, actually. And so that frequency was a match. That was more of the heart frequency, the embodied human frequency, rather than the chasing the numbers and the likes, and which can eat up a lot of life force energy too. And that's very much in the head. Do your work, be honest, be authentic. Don't try to compete with others. That's another game of the power grid too, is to have us competing with each other and judging ourselves. And social media is, just amplified that whole, mind virus, if you will. So if you like what I'm doing, like my channel, like my video, it does help. And I wish you all the very, very best. Take care.